Hey there. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Blind Buys. I'm pretty pressed for time today, so I figured that I would just avoid any confusion, skip the suggested list today. We just did a personal review, personal pick, so I figured I would skip the suggested list today, do a high school rewind just to keep things simple. Just keep going down the high school rewinds list. And because I'm pressed for time, of course, things go a little awry. Today, as you know, you saw the title, I'm doing Polo Blue, the Bear Edition. So when you look at the Fragrantica listing, there are actually two separate listings. One for the Holiday Bear Edition, which I suppose this is, and one for regular Polo Blue. They have different note listings, different accords, different release dates, obviously. So that kind of muddles up what we're trying to figure out here. Is this just the same as what I had in high school? So I bounced over to Parfumo real quick, which I always double check on Parfumo for every fragrance I do. That's the notes I put in my notebook and stuff like that. But Parfumo says the Holiday Bear is the exact same as the regular Polo Blue, which is what you would assume it to be. There he is, hanging out. Now, I'm actually not really a fan. I would have probably gotten the regular Polo Blue, but I seem to remember getting a deal on this after the holidays. I don't think I paid full price for this. So check me out on the other side of the waterfall and we'll get price and where I got this from Macy's. And we'll figure out what I paid for it. Probably not too much. I would not pay extra for the Dumb Bear. I would have gotten this on discounters. So without jawing on too long, since we don't have all day here, the atomizer was basically facing the right way. Maybe shifted a little bit in transport. The bottle shape is a little different than what I remember. The cap is the same. This little Ralph Lauren print around the neck is different. I first saw this in a magazine when I was maybe 16 or 17. And that's where I first got the smell for it. And this is the exact same smell that I remember, at least thus far. So up the off the top and real quick. I'm just gonna use the regular Polo Blue notes. I don't think there's any difference. I think probably it's Fragrantica just being Fragrantica, people being people and making a listing for something and just deviating for whatever reason. But that's why you have to do your own, you have to research a little bit. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but you look into it for more than 4 seconds before you buy something. That's kind of really all that you got to do. So I'm looking at the regular Polo Blue Accords here. And I did cheat. I already looked at the notes listing, so it's not really a surprise or anything. This is less blue, more aqua, farther away from things like Dylan Blue or Sauvage or Bleu de Chanel, closer to what I imagine a regular Aqua de Joe would be, closer to any of the aquatic scents that I have in my lineup. It's nice. It's not as great as I remember it to being. Um, It'll work out pretty good for the coming days. It's been cold in the mornings and warm in the afternoons, so it'll bridge the gap pretty well. As far as main accords, the Fragrantica Cop Out gives us ozonic, aquatic, aromatic, fresh spicy, green, musky, herbal, fresh, woody, and citrus. And as far as notes, some kind of fun ones actually, note listing wise, but probably brings you farther away from what it actually smells like. On the top, it's got cucumber, melon, and mandarin orange. In the middle, it's got basil, sage, and geranium. And in the base, suede, woodsy notes, and musk. And it's more of the middle notes, the basil, sage, the geranium. It's soapy, fresh. It's very aquatic as well. Cologne, maybe being a culprit. The Fragrantica Bear Edition notes are watery notes, geranium, sage, basil, suede, oak, and patchouli. So close. I actually kind of see where they get the notes listing for the Holiday Bear Edition more so than the Polo Blue, but it's not like they made two different fragrances and made a special fragrance to bottle with a bear on the front. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Perhaps I'm wrong. I've been wrong in the past, and I will be wrong again in the future. But kind of running out of time today, so stick with me. I'll see you on the other side of the waterfall, and we'll go through a normal full style review over there. So thanks, guys. Okay, folks, it's been 20 days at least, which is really just a little bit stretched on too far. But this fragrance really is quite nostalgic for me. I wore this almost every day in high school, throughout college. I really, really like this fragrance. It just does something for me. Every time I sprayed it on, it just brought me back to a younger day in my life. I'm not particularly old right now, but it brings me back to my teenage years for sure. This fragrance came out in 2003, and I must have gotten it in the late 2000s. And I certainly wore my bottle completely out in the 2010s. I really do miss my original bottle. I sort of don't like this new bottle shape. I kind of liked what it was originally, but that's just nitpicking at bottle shapes. The perfumers on this were Carlos Benaim, who has, I think, 200 plus fragrances to his name. Frederick Malls, you look at the listing, he's pretty prolific, although I didn't see any like standoutish fragrances that jumped out to me. Just lots and lots of high-end fragrances. And then Christophe Laudomil, I believe I'm probably butchering the name, but he's also got his name on Abercrombie & Fitch's Fierce, which makes sense since this fragrance and Fierce came out around the same time, and they do a lot of similar things. In my mind, they're meant to not battle, but they kind of go against each other in that early 2000s vein. You know, they were both opposed. Obviously, Polo wanted you to pick Polo Blue, and Abercrombie & Fitch wanted you to pick Fierce. Fierce obviously being everywhere, probably the more popular name, but Polo Blue was ever present. That was their everyday wear. For batch numbers, I've got 38W. You're probably not going to be able to read that. 38W 501X, which is interesting because that gives us a May 2022 born on date, but this is the 2022 Holiday Bear Edition. So kind of weird that it was produced 7 months prior to its holiday release. I got this from Macy's for $68.60. They give 4.2 ounces on the bottle, which puts us at $16.33 per ounce, which really is a very good price. It's kind of about where you want to be for fragrances. It's not too expensive. You can feel good about spraying, 3 to 4 on every day. That's kind of where I ended up on at this fragrance. 4 sprays a day, 1 on the arm, 2 on the shoulders, 1 on the back of the neck. And that seemed to work out pretty good. It gave me about a 6 to 7 projection, I felt. It jumped off pretty good. It was, it jumps off, but it's not reserved. I wouldn't call it a reserved fragrance. People are going to smell this on you. I didn't get any comments or anything like that, but people definitely smelled it. Although that 6 to 7 projection, I think I only got really 4 to 6 good hours on longevity. You can still pick it up on your clothing, on your skin in that 8-hour mark. You might get a work day. It's maybe a good work day fragrance. Since at that end of the day, with no reapplication, you're just sort of tapering down and you can go home, shower, apply something else if you want to, but you don't necessarily need to shower. You might be able to just get away with spraying something else on or reapplying if you wish. I would not say that this is a typical blue fragrance as by the modern standard. Compared to things like Dylan Blue, it lacks the, I kind of want to call it like a thick, incensey candle shop sort of smell. This is a lot lighter, a lot brighter, much more ozonic and aquatic. I feel like it was meant to go against things like Aqua de Jo, and the idea of a modern blue fragrance hadn't even come out yet. So it's kind of weird that the blue fragrance moniker doesn't really include Polo Blue, especially because it came out so much earlier. The notes listing is pretty deceptive, I believe. The melon, the cucumber, mandarin is kind of there. When smelled up against Dylan Blue, it's much brighter and a bit citrusy compared directly up. But when smelled on its own, I think the note listing is a bit deceptive. You want to smell this in the air. It's kind of a soapy, shower jelly kind of smell, but it works good for what it does. It'll have you smelling good all day. Well, maybe not all day, but it'll have you smelling good and inoffensive. It's a good everyday wear, and that's really what I think Polo Ralph Lauren was going for with this fragrance, as opposed to other fragrances they were coming out with along those times. Polo Black, Polo Green, I'm not a super big fan of, I don't believe. It's been a minute since I've smelled it. My friend's father, stepdad had it back in the day and it just smelled like an old guy. So I maybe need to smell it again. But I think this was more of their everyday release. But I think that's about all I've got to say about this one. I've got some more fragrances coming up. Hopefully they don't take quite as long to come out, but we'll see. I like to give everything its fair time and a thorough wear. So until the next time I see you, talk to you, or anything else, take it easy, you guys. Thanks.